Well, good afternoon and welcome to a little hot stove update here from the Steakhouse. Dan Vaughn with your voice, the Kansas City T-Bones with you. Sorry I didn't let you guys know on Twitter, but we'll get you caught up in a moment. Here we go. Let's roll the open. Let's roll a little Steakhouse open. How about it? You want to do that? Let's do that in 3, 2, 1. Here we go, folks. You know what? Let's try this. Here we go. Let's try this one. How about there we go? 3, 2, 1. It says close on there, but I don't know why it does that. I don't know. I'm trying here. We're trying here. Anyway, you know what? Welcome. I'm going to try this. Let me try it again because I really want to give the open to you guys. I'm not sure what's going on, but I had it loaded in there. But apparently, let's try this. One of those days. I'm trying to do like 9 different things at once here, but I'm glad you guys are along. Let's get caught up. We'll play the close. How about it? You guys know me. Is there any time that I lose my mind? It's right here when all this nonsense happens, and this is one of those times. So glad you guys are along. We are a little hot stove update. This is one that I've kind of already given you, but I want to give it to you again. Jamison McGraney, you may have seen this. Morgan, I know, tweeted this out as well. He has been re-signed. Now, I've already sort of given you this, but he was officially signed, and we're going to have to rewind the clock and kind of walk you through what happened. But let's go back to last spring. McGraney was brought in as a bullpen piece, as a guy the T-Bones are going to really count on in the bullpen, and he wound up, of course, like all other T-Bones, were exposed to the dispersal draft when everything really fell apart for the association. Kansas City couldn't play. We've been down this road a little bit before. We kind of know the whole deal. But McGraney, 1-on-1, 26 appearances, 27 innings, 16 saves for St. Paul last year. I led the association in saves. Now, remember, St. Paul, what makes this the whole thing kind of a mess, and to connect the dots, is why I want to come on and kind of explain this thing to you. Because McGraney, good morning to see you, Gary, as well. Brian, here's the deal. Okay, McGraney signed with Kansas City last spring. Then the T-Bones don't play, so he gets picked up in the dispersal draft, goes to St. Paul. Of course, St. Paul played on the road, and then wound up going home the last start of the season. Fast forward, St. Paul winds up sending him back to Kansas City, which was the case. All those players in the dispersal draft were sent back to the original teams, the original property. Kansas City then takes the contract option on McGraney, but he hadn't signed it yet. He signed it then over the last 24 hours. Oh, and by the way, St. Paul is no longer the American Association. That is all what's – that's why this whole ball is a little confusing. You wrap it all up, and that's what you got. But Kansas City acquiring McGraney. He's a guy that's going to be a great back-end piece for the bullpen. We'll jump right in. Hey, good to see you, Morgan, as well. And by the way, I'm not in my office today, and the reason why I'm at school today. I'm actually Prince of Peace up in Carrollton, Texas today, teaching, and it's lunchtime, and the kids have not come rolling in yet. So I've got a little limited window to get this in. Apologize for the open too. I don't know what happened. I got it sitting right here, but it drives me nuts, man. I don't know what's going on. I'll take your questions and comments so while we're here. And I'd be more than happy to get those to you. And it's a little bit odd. I had actually sort of – here we go. This is what I'm looking for here. I'm going to go back to – there we go. Here's the T-Bone open. Okay, here we go. Here's the T-Bones open. And there we go. I don't know why it didn't pop up on the screen, but just to prove that I can do it, I'm going to make myself do it because we're not going to – it's just – anyway. For some reason, it didn't load in the system, and I was scrambling, and even had a conference call with my doctor as well, so that was part of it too. So let's try and see if we can get this thing to load in as well, and just to make sure that just to know that I can do it. That's kind of what I want to do here to make sure that it works. And there we go. There's the open. Let's hear the open. All right, just for grins, just so I know I did it. All right. Thank you very much, Morgan, too, by the way. All right, there we we go. I'll drop the volume down there as we close out. I'll take the questions and comments quickly here as my class will be coming in a few minutes. But McGrady, let me pull up some numbers on him. I actually did this bio on him, weeks ago. And I'll pull that up for you and give you, here we go. McGrady, again, great numbers as a closer. Was a league save last year. This is a guy that was a back-end guy. Your bullpen started to look pretty good. It really looked solid. 6'4", 250-pound right-hander. Former Marlins farmhand, spent 18 and the 19, well, all of 18 with the Marlins, reaching high A Jupiter, also at low A Greensboro. A little time in the New York Penn League as well. He really spent 4 stops in the Marlins organization, and then went to the Frontier League in Florence, and then wound up playing a little time in Mexico, York in 19, then St. Paul in the Atlantic League, and then St. Paul in our league last year. Career numbers, he's a guy that had 24 saves in New York, and this is why I was so excited about him coming out of the 19 season. In 19, he had 24 saves in 61 innings, a 1.33 earned run average. His walks, hits, innings, pitches, whip, we like to call it, a 1.13. Last year, those 16 saves, he was on pace to break his career mark the year prior. This is a guy that began his career mostly as a setup guy. He's really moved in that closing role the last 2 seasons at Indy Ball. 27 innings for St. Paul last year, a 2.33. And again, the 41 strikeouts, 27 innings, so better than a strikeout, well, much better than a strikeout per inning right there. 4-0 in the minors overall. Last year, 1-1. Again, he pitched a little time in Mexico last offseason, the 1920 winter season, so it would have been a year ago right now. He was down in Mexico, not pitching winter ball that I know of right now. I don't have him on my radar in either Australia or the Caribbean, so not doing that. But again, had a really solid association. I don't know why the screen, what am I doing here? Good grief. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. The screen just kind of froze up on me. Anyway, give it a moment for questions and comments, but the hot stove update, Jamison McGrady has finally signed the contract. And again, it's a little confusing because I gave this to you about a month and a half ago when all those guys resigned, or not they were resigned, they were returned back and their contracts were picked up a couple of days later. It actually happened on that last week of September. I believe on September 11th is when St. Paul sent the players back, and then Kansas City about a week later put those options out on those players, and with those picked up those contract options. And what that step is, we've talked about this a bit before. What you do is basically a revolving one-year contract. McGrady returning back to Kansas City, it's as if he played with the T-Bones last year, despite him playing in St. Paul, because again, the T-Bones players didn't play in St. Paul. Didn't play in Kansas City, played at other clubs, or just didn't play at all. So it's as if he played for Kansas City. Kansas City retains his rights. That's the first step, and it's the retain the originary rights, or the rights of the player, and you offer them a contract, and it's exercising. You'll see it in the transaction sheets on the association website. Exercise the contract option on Jamison McGrady. T-Bones did that. The player then has to sign. Most of the time, it's pretty straightforward. Sometimes it drags on a little bit. And in this case, and it's happened before, this one dragged on a little bit. It's just paperwork going back and forth, and the holidays and the Zooms and the virtuals, all the things we got going on. So that may be the main reason. But the hot stove update there. The bullpen looks pretty set. You look at McGrady, you got Brian Ellington, Carlos Diaz. Those 3 names alone, you got a lefty and Diaz, who was your closer better parts of 2 seasons, had a phenomenal 19 season. You got McGrady, had a great season in St. Paul. You got a lefty-righty option, and the hard-throwing Ellington right there, who had a phenomenal stretch in 2019 with Kansas City. I mean, that bullpen is about as set as you're going to be in that back end, and that's just with the starters. That's just for starters. It's even deeper than that. But, hey, Ray, good to see you as well out there. Glad you're along. As the T-Bone signed Jamison McGrady, back in option right-hander, I believe, out of Maryland, and went to college, Limestone College in Gaffney, South Carolina. But he is now a T-Bone. I'm going to pull up that roster, too. I don't know if I got it handy, but give me a moment to pull that KC roster up. I believe I've got it handy here. Didn't pull it up on the screen. I don't have a graphic for you, but just looking over where the T-Bones stand going in, really the meat of the hot stove season kind of comes in now. But if you saw this today, I think you might see some delays here and there because AAA and the big league camps will open up as normal in middle Feb, right? Early pitchers and catchers in February. AA and down, AA, single A, those are be later on after AAA camp's over, which of course the big league opening day is always around April 1st into March. So I didn't see the exact date, but you're looking at a spring training start in March for AA and AA and single A. AAA guys will be available. So those guys who get optioned out of AAA or maybe big league camp to AAA and don't want to take a big league or AAA assignment, they'll be picked up and have a chance to be picked up by association teams, independent ball clubs with this new partnership. It'll also be encouraged to get those guys picked up as well. So you'll see that case going forward. You're going to see situations where AAA guys, again, and they're going to be the only ones out there. And again, what happens when a guy goes to big league camp, he's optioned off the big league camp, sent to AAA camp. Most guys, if they're former big leaguers, will have an option to have a 10-day window to either request free agency or take the assignment if they're designated for assignment. A little technical mumbo jumbo, but that's how it works usually. With the AA guys and on down, not going to camp until later on in March, which usually they start around March 1. They'll be pushed back and get to the end of March, perhaps 1st of April. You may see some AA and high A guys, signing with Kansas City in greater numbers toward the latter part of our spring training, if not really our first month. So I can see this whole thing moving the calendar date, usually maybe smack dab in the middle of hot stove around February 20th or so. I could see that being moved down a little bit, that last flux of players. Usually once spring training gets going and guys kind of shuffle out, Joe jumps right on them. But with those AA and AAA guys not being out there, the AAA guys being out there, that player pool shrunk. So I can see this thing kind of stretching down a bit. And I can evenly see this thing going to the 23rd hour of a 24-hour day to get those final pieces. And I think you'll see, as we've seen with Kansas City, the T-Bones consistently are turning that roster over. Joe has always got that Rolodex going. And when a player gets picked up, and which is the idea to chase his big league dreams, is contract gets picked up, Joe usually plugs one right back in there. And I think you're going to see that consistently be the same case. And the player pool, I think, will be bigger this year because, A, you've got fewer minor league teams with contraction, and B, the way the whole schedule works and when the draft falls also in August. So those are all parts of the whole puzzle as well. Pitching looks awfully good. It sure does, Anthony. It really does. We got to pull that roster up as well for you. I don't know. Let me get it for you. Roster looks like this currently. Just, again, I mentioned Ellington, Diaz, and now McGraney, all three in back-end options. I know that Joe is very fired up to get, of course, guys, for example, like Eric Manoah Jr. is back. He could also be a swing guy, a starter. He's a versatile guy. You expect, just looking at it right now, Frank Duncan, former Jayhawk, probably slides in the rotation. Dylan Baker as well, Akeem Bostic. Those three guys probably good pieces as a rotation piece. Aaron Brown, the lefty that's playing in Australia right now over for Brisbane, also probably slides into either another high leverage role in the back end of the bullpen. It's a deep bullpen and a deep rotation right now. Brian Gowicki, a guy that was in St. Paul as well last year, adding the mix of the pitching staff. And then Stetson Ali, who's a hard-throwing righty, a guy that throws triple digits, also in the mix of the bullpen. That bullpen's deep. I mean, that you got Ali, Brown, Diaz, Ellington, and now McGraney. That right there is a pretty solid step. And I think it's going to free up guys like Manoah and, again, guys like Dylan Baker to fully slot that rotation. I get the feeling the bullpen's pretty much set for the most part. Maybe the roles aren't set, but the bullpen pieces are set. I think Joe will go out now and try to strike a rotation piece, top-line rotation piece like the T-Bones have had in the past, that number one stud, the Tommy Collier type out there. I think that's what Joe's next real big assignment will be. Just the impression I get from talking to him and hearing what he has to say. Happy New Year, Aaron, as well. Good to see you out there here. A little quick little stop on the steakhouse, talk a little T-Bones baseball at lunchtime. And again, the news is it's sort of breaking news, but a hot stove update here is that the T-Bones have inked Jamison McGranney, a right-hander closer who had 16 saves last year with the St. Paul Saints in the association. His rights are returned back to Kansas City back in September. His contract was exercised. That option was exercised a couple of weeks later on the 20th of October, and then was signed yesterday and overnight. So, Anthony, it makes a difference. And that's something I can tell you this right now. I'm watching a lot of winter baseball, and of course, Australia going on right now. I'm seeing that very same thing because your rotation pieces, got to hold up. But that bullpen's been a big difference in on the early going in Australia. I'm watching the Perth ball games, and the difference between Perth, Adelaide, and Brisbane as they're playing in a hub in Queensland has been the bullpen. I mean, Perth's run out one after another of solid righties and lefties are getting an inning here, inning there. The bullpen's allowed, I believe, only the one earned run in their first 4 ball games. And if you're doing that on a consistent basis, 2 earned runs every 8 ball games is pretty good. I mean, that's going to keep things down, especially when your offense is clicking as well. But it takes the pressure off your entire staff when your bullpen. You don't have to be – when your bullpen's going to lock things down, you can win a 1-0 game, a 3-1 game. You don't have to score 12, 13 runs or whatever the case may be. You have to slug your way to the top. You just kind of, let that bullpen lock things down. And I think that's one thing you'll see, Anthony, that the T-Bones will be able to do going forward is lock things down in that back end. You look back to 2019, that was a big part of the stretch drive for Kansas City. The rotation was pretty solid, but that bullpen, I think back about Carlos Diaz. Diaz gave up 1 earned run in his last, 14 appearances, totaling, I believe it was 12 innings. I mean, you get guys like that. Ellington really carried the team in July for a stretch where he didn't allow an earned run for, I believe, 11 innings. Those kind of pieces can carry your team and unite your bullpen for short stretches. And for Kansas City, it's all the difference in the world in the 19 season. I mean, it righted the ship in July. The bullpen kind of righted the ship, cut the walks. And in that month of August, that stretch drive, the walks went away, strikeouts are up, holds and saves and setup rolls were all stellar in that stretch. And so you're right on the way things are, Anthony. But yeah, when you can shorten things down and roll out, and let's just look at it this way. Think about Sioux City's ball club in 19 and 18 as well, those 2 clubs that Kansas City faced. Remember those nail-biting series against Kansas City in Sioux City in 18? How about the championship, not championship, the first round of the playoffs in 18? I mean, Sioux City was running out arm after arm after arm, and it took, every bit of a nip and tuck affair to get KC over the top. And Kansas City did the very same thing, ran out arm after arm after arm, and those 2 teams locked in. It was a dandy postseason series where each bullpen was phenomenal. And really, whichever one blinked last was the one that didn't get it done. So it's very important to get that bullpen set. And I like the way Joe's doing it this year. We talked about how Sioux City's done over the years. Steve Montgomery builds his bullpen backwards to his rotation. Joe kind of lets things come to him, but he's told us before in our broadcast, he goes into it what he gets, and whatever he gets, he kind of molds around it. And this year, it's more bullpen pieces. He'll build it for the bullpen and build it backwards, and just kind of whatever's out there. And Joe, there's no more flexible skipper in putting together a roster than Joe Capietro, the American Association. Nobody. Because he doesn't set with one focus. He goes what's out there. He lets the game come to him, and when he finds out what that philosophy is, he dives into it. And no one does what he does roster-wise. Other guys really kind of look at it going, okay, I got this. I'm the same way. When I look at a roster, I'm like, when I got a first baseman, a catcher, a center fielder, or whatever, a catcher, center fielder, shortstop, up the middle. Joe really is flexible. Like I said, we've had some years, 2 years ago, up the middle. When Adrian Nieto in the 18 season really solidified things up the middle. And you had, of course, we talk about starting from behind the plate. But Joe will take his cues from what's out there. And there's some good bullpen pieces out there. And I think that Joe's done a great job. So, yeah, winning mentality. And that's what winning mentalities do, Anthony. The culture is winning. That's what you do. Your winning culture is, hey, you have to be flexible in this game. This game does change. Analytics are a big thing now, and so you got to make some adjustments here and there. But nothing beats doing things right, and that's what Joe's going to do right every time. And it sounds so very sophomoric for me to say that it's here as I sit in the school, but you have to be flexible and you got to make that adjustment, and that's something that we've done, and that Joe has done that. A quick call, a last call on questions, comments here on the Hot Stove Update. Glad you guys stopped by here. Happy lunchtime and happy New Year to you. First, I hadn't even a chance to talk to you guys and wish you all a happy New Year since the calendar flipped from 20 to 21. But that just means it's just getting closer and closer every day to Kansas City T-Bones baseball in the American Association. Should be fun. By the way, this was something that I talked about last night on a podcast that Rob Paneer and Kevin Luco did. If you've not seen the photos, and I don't have them handy, but I should have, but I'm kind of in a scramble here. But Morgan posted some really great photos on social media of the work being done at the ballpark. That east side would be the northwest side, east. Third base side, northwest side, right around that side, a phenomenal job of redoing that ballpark. I don't believe folks are going to recognize parts of that ballpark when they get in there. New seats. It really is cleared out. That back end of that main gate of the ballpark has been cleared out. And again, upstairs, the new club level development. There's taking some of the suites, combining them into that Legends Club. That's going to be a really great place as well for functions and for different events, and just a great place to enjoy ball games at our ballpark. I mean, there's so many great things are happening at the ballpark. Put it this way, I'll pull the curtain back. It's such a big deal what's going on with the redevelopment of that ballpark that our ball club, Mark Brandmeyer and Company, have hired folks to actually oversee that, just to make sure that it's going the right direction. And then they're out there every day. I believe Brian Spanauer his name, is out there every day overseeing what's going on in the renovations that are going on at the ballpark. So there's a lot of really good things going on. Okay, glad you guys joined me at a little lunchtime Hot Stove Update. I apologize I didn't tweet this out to you earlier, but of course you can always follow us on our T-Bones Twitter, my Twitter at Dan Vaughn Jr., and of course always on our Facebook and other Instagram channel as well. Morgan has got you covered. The new show will debut shortly. We will keep these updates coming as we get them, but then we'll start our monthly show right around the corner, and I'll be announcing some details on that as we come forward. Joe Capietro will be joining us on our first official show of the off season on Hot Stove. So Anthony and company, glad you guys all stopped by today. Much love to you. I say it every time. Every time. Let's be better tomorrow than we were today. Let's be better fans tomorrow than we were today. Let's be better people. Let's show the love. Virtual hugs to all y'all up in KC and across the world watching us on Facebook Live. A much love to you guys. Miss you. Look forward to seeing you. Happy New Year to you. And thank you, Anthony, as well. Happy New Year to you and your family. And we'll see you guys down the road. That's right, our next update. But I'm going to cue this up now. Hopefully DB gets it right this time, right? You guys are thinking, well, gosh, can DB get it right for once? Let's hope he does. Yeah, boy, I tell you. Anyway, much love to you guys. We'll see you guys down the road. The Hot Stove Update in the books. Jamison McGrady is a T-bone. Bullpen looks phenomenal. We'll see you guys next time. Love y'all. Turn the volume up. How about that? There we go.